Hi, welcome to everyone. Today's presentation is simple. Three pressures reshaping supply chain, disruptions, cost, and sustainability regulation. All have the same answer, digital connectivity. Over the next few slides, I'll show how real-time visibility, AI, blockchain, and digital twin simultaneously make supply chain more resilient and more sustainable. And I'll back every claim with recent data and real company cases from Microsoft, Maersk, AWS, and Fortune 500 automaker. Here's our path. We'll start with the macro forces, expose the visibility gaps that sits at the root of most problems, then build up the four connectivity technologies. From there, we apply them to the two big prizes, resilience and sustainability, before closing with a hard-nosed business case, the barriers that trip people up, and a phased roadmap you can act on. The first is what we're going to cover is the new baseline, where for global supply chain is defined by a fundamental shift from efficiency-driven linear operating models to digital connected, sustainability anchored, and resilience-centric ecosystem. And the visibility gap will represent one of the most persistent structural weaknesses in modern supply chain, arising from fragmented data system, siloed operations, and limited real-time information flows across global network. And the next digital connectivity has become the central architectural pillar of modern supply chain transformation, enabling organizations to integrate information, processes, and stakeholders across traditionally fragmented operational landscape. And resilience and risk have become inseparable strategic constructs in contemporary supply chain management, reflecting the reality that global networks now operate under conditions of chronic volatility rather than episodic disruptions. And sustainability by design, it represents a strategic evolution in supply chain management, shifting environmental responsibility from downstream corrective actions to upstream structural integration. The business call for digital connectivity, sustainability, and resilient supply chain is no longer aspirational. It is economical, strategically, and competitively indispensable. Organizations that invest in digital connectivity and sustainability by design consistently outperform peers through lower operating costs, reduced waste, improved asset utilization, and enhanced risk mitigation. We look into disruption. It is no longer the exception, it is the operating conditions. Change the rhythm of globalized supply chain. What used to be occasional shock, a port closure, a geopolitical flare up, a sudden price spike, have become the baseline environment in which leaders must operate. The supply chain is no longer navigating temporary turbulence. It is navigating a permanent storm. This shift has forced organizations to confront an uncomfortable truth. The systems they built for stability cannot survive a world defined by instability. In this environment, leaders are being forced to rewire the supply chain, not patch up. The question is no longer whether to transform, but how fast and how intentionally they can redesign their network for a world where volatility is constant. The organizations that move quickly, building connected systems, predictive capabilities, and resilient architectures will operate with clarity and control. Those that delay will be trapped in a perpetual firefighting, reacting to disruptions that never end. See, the number stage is set over here. 94% of companies now report revenue impact from disruptions. It is essentially universal. 91% of operational leaders say they'll significantly change strategy because of trade policy and tariff shift. And roughly 9 in 10 expects costs to keep rising. You can't buffer your way out of this with more inventory. You need to see and adapt faster, which is a connectivity problem. Before we talk about technology, let's diagnose the core problem, visibility. The visibility is now one of the most dangerous structural weaknesses in global supply chain. You cannot manage, secure, or decarbonize what you cannot see. And today, most networks are still flying blind. The visibility gap begins with disconnected assets and processes. Inventory moves without being tracked end to end. Shipments travel across borders with limited real-time monitoring. Supplier performance is measured through outdated reports rather than live signals. This gap also prevents organizations from understanding the true state of their network. When data is incomplete or delayed, artificial intelligence cannot predict risk, digital twins cannot simulate reality, and decision makers cannot act with confidence. The result is reactive firefighting, inflated buffers, higher costs, and increased exposure to geopolitical shocks, climate events, and cyber threats. Sustainability becomes a reporting exercise instead of operational capability. Resilience becomes improvisation instead of design. This is the headline problem. Only 6% of the companies report full end-to-end visibility. Meanwhile, 94% feel revenue impact from disruptions, many of which they simply couldn't see approaching. The good news is the fix is already spreading. Only 6% can see end to end. And that single statistics explains why supply chain continue to struggle with resilience, sustainability, and cost control. When only a tiny fraction of organizations have true end-to-end visibility, it means 94% are still operating with partial information, delayed signals, and blind spots that make intelligent decision making impossible. 60% of logistics providers now use IoT sensors for real-time freight tracking, and where real-time visibility exists, inventory write-off drops about 19%. Visibility isn't a nice to have, it's the foundation everything else is built on. So the consequences is predictable. Resilience collapses because disruptions are detected too late. Sustainability stalls because carbon cannot be measured accurately. Costs rise because buffers, premiums, and firefighting becomes normal. Customer service suffers because demand signals arrive after the fact. When only 6% can see end to end, it means the vast majority are still flying blind in a world where disruption is constant and expectations are rising. End to end visibility is no longer a luxury, it is a minimum requirement for modern supply chain performance. Digital connectivity isn't one tool, it's four technologies working together. IoT to sense, AI to decide, blockchain to trust, and digital twins to simulate. Together, they close the visibility gap and enable everything that follows. IoT, turning physical reality into digital signal. IoT is the sensory layer of the modern supply chain. Sensors embedded in machines, vehicles, containers, and products continuously transmit data on location, temperature, inventory levels, equipment health, and environmental conditions. This removes blind spots and replaces manual reporting with real-time truth. Every movement, every assets, and every conditions becomes visible the moment it occurs, forming the raw data foundation for all higher level intelligence. And AI turning signals into insights and decisions. AI is the analytical engine that transforms IoT signals into predictions, recommendations, and automated decisions. Machine learning models detect patterns, forecast demand, identify risk, and optimize inventory and routing. AI converts millions of data points into actionable intelligence, enabling leaders to anticipate disruptions, reduce waste, and improve service levels. It is the cognitive layer that allows the supply chain to learn and adapt continuously. Blockchain is turning transactions into trust and traceability. Blockchain is the trust layer. It provides a secure, tamper-proof ledger that verifies every transaction, movement, and sustainability claim across the network. Data shared between partners becomes accurate, transparent, and immutable. Blockchain strengthens compliance, eliminates fraud, and enables trusted collaboration across suppliers, logistics providers, and regulators, ensuring integrity in a connected ecosystem. And digital twin, turning insights into simulation and optimization. So digital twin create a dynamic virtual replica of the supply chain that updates in real time as IoT and AI fit in new information. Organizations can simulate scenarios, test decisions, and optimize operations before acting in the real world. Leaders model the impact of disruptions, redesign warehouse flows, optimize energy usage, and evaluate sourcing strategies with mathematical precision. See, together they create one living view of network. When IoT, AI, digital twins, and blockchain are connected, they form a single digital backbone that unifies the entire supply chain. Data flows seamlessly. Intelligence updates continuously. Decisions execute instantly. Trust is embedded. The supply chain becomes a living system, sensing, learning, predicting, and acting in real time. Digital connectivity, it's not one initiative. It is a foundation that makes every other ambition, resilience, sustainability, efficiency, customer expectation possible. The control tower is where all four technologies convert into something a planner can actually use. One screen, one version of the truth. Instead of chasing spreadsheets across silos, teams get predictive alerts and shared space to coordinate a response. The payoff is concrete. Digital twins enable roughly 50% faster disruption response. AI catches about 25% of supplier risk and 80% of digitally enabled supply chain report being more resilient. This is the operating model for the rest of the talk. Microsoft and Accenture, a cloud control tower, the challenge and the solution. A cloud-based control tower from Microsoft and Accenture directly addresses one of the most persistent structural failures in global supply chain. That is fragmented data, disconnected systems, and slow siloed decision making. Most organizations still operate with legacy ERPs, isolated planning tools, and supplier portals that cannot communicate with each other. The result is a network that reacts late, says partially, and struggles to coordinate across functions. Microsoft and Accenture Cloud Control Tower is designed to solve this exact problem by creating a single, unified, real-time operating layer across the entire supply chain. Visibility is necessary, but not sufficient. Resilience is what you do with it. Diversify your options, sense risk earlier, and respond faster. Let's quantify the payoff and look at the risk landscape you're managing against. Resilience and risk connectivity is the force that transforms raw visibility into true resilience. That is the ability to absorb shocks, adapt quickly, and bounce back. In a world where disruption is constant, visibility alone is not enough. Leaders need connected visibility, data that flows across suppliers, production nodes, logistics corridors, and customer channels in real time. Connectivity turns scattered signals into a coherent picture, enabling organizations to sense early warnings, understand their implications, and act before the impact hits. Here's the case for resilience in numbers, from fragile to adaptive, the payoff. When supply chain become connected, intelligent, and predictive, the performance gains are not marginal, they are transformational. The shift from fragile, siloed networks to adaptive, digitally enabled ecosystem delivers measurable improvements across resilience, speed, and risk detection. The three numbers capture the impact: 80%, 50%, 25%, each representing a step change enabled by digital connectivity, artificial intelligence, and digital twin transformation. Resilience has two levels, and you need both. Diversification reduces your exposure, multi-sourcing, regionalization, pre-qualified backup. So a single failure doesn't stop the line, but diversification without digitalization just adds complexity you can't manage. Digital connectivity turns flexibility into fast, informed action. You see the disruption early, predict its spread, and rehearse the response in between. The research is clear that these two work best in combination, not isolation. So diversity, the network, and digitalizing the response form a unified strategic principle that strengthens supply chain resilience and accelerates operational intelligence. By expanding the supplier base, logistics options, data sources, and talent capabilities, organizations reduce concentration, risk, and create multiple pathways for continuity when disruptions occur. Diversity builds structural optionality, ensuring the network can absorb shocks, reroute flows, and maintain service level even under stress. Digitalization then transforms this optionality into speed and precision. Real-time sensing through IoT, predictive analytics powered by AI, And scenario modeling via digital twins enable organizations to detect disruptions earlier, understand their impact more accurately, and respond with coordinated data-driven actions. Together, diversity and digitalization, they create an adaptive operating system where broad, flexible networks are paired with intelligence, rapid decision making, and this combination shifts supply chain from reactive firefighting to proactive, predictive management, delivering high resilience, faster response, and more reliable performance in an increasingly volatile world. Let's make resilience tangible with dollars. A Fortune 500 automaker struggling with production disruptions deployed an AI digital twin control tower. The global manufacturer rebuilt its resilience by deploying a 90 million digital twin control tower that connected planning, procurement, logistics, and plant operations into a single real-time decisions environment. With continuous simulation of demand, supply, and production scenarios, the organization delivered 90 million in total benefits, reduced inventory by 20% through dynamic buffering, cut expediting costs by 10 million, and achieved a 94.7% reduction in point of use misses, virtually eliminating line stoppages. One backbone, two strategic prices. The same connective backbone that builds resilience also decarbonizes and proves ESG claims. When suppliers, factories, warehouses, logistics network, and products run on a single connected system, sustainability stops being a reporting burden and becomes an operational outcome. Real-time IoT signals track energy and emissions. AI optimizes routes, reduces waste, and prevents overproduction. Blockchain verifies every sustainability claim with tamper-proof evidence. Digital twins simulate low-carbon alternatives before decisions are made. Connectivity doesn't just support sustainability. It makes it measurable, auditable, and scalable. Sustainability by design begins with the principle that environmental performance must be engineered into the supply chain from the start, not added later as a compliance layer. Connectivity is the enabler that makes the shift possible. When every asset, supplier, and material flow is digitally linked, organizations gain the intelligence needed to reduce impact at scale and make sustainability operational rather than aspirational. Connectivity directly lowers emissions by providing real-time visibility into energy use, transport routes, and production efficiency. IoT sensors and AI optimization models help eliminate empty miles, reduce fuel consumption, and enable low carbon routing across logistics networks. Instead of reacting to emissions after they occur, connected systems allow companies to prevent them through smarter data-driven decisions. A connected supply chain also accelerates the circular economy. Digital twins and traceability platforms track materials from origin to end of life, making reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling seamless. With full visibility of material flows, organization can design products for circularity, recover components more efficiently, and reduce waste across the value chain. And finally, responsible sourcing becomes practical and proactive, and supplier data, certifications, and risk indicators flow into a unified control tower. Procurement teams can verify compliance, detect labor and environmental risks early, and shift to ethical alternatives without disrupting operations. Connectivity transforms responsible sourcing from a manual audit exercise into a continuous, intelligent process. Together, these three forces, lower emissions, circularity, and responsible sourcing, demonstrate how connectivity cuts environmental impact and embeds sustainability into the very architecture of supply chain management. Sustainability now has teeth, and that's a data problem. Regulations like the EU CSRD, the ISSB standards, and TCFD have made high quality, auditable supply chain data mandatory, not optional. Blockchain is uniquely suited here because it creates immutable, verifiable records, provenance from source to shelf, emissions data you can prove, and a single version of the truth shared across partners. The business value is avoiding greenwashing exposure and passing audits the first time. Trust becomes a technical property of the network. AWS, Amazon Web Services, a concrete sustainability win. Amazon's global trade and product compliance team had to validate data center hardware against regulations by chasing supplier data over email, slow, error-prone, and impossible to audit cleanly. Therefore, AWS strengthens its sustainability performance by automating ESG data collection, validation, and reporting across its global operations, eliminating thousands of hours of manual work previously spent on compliance preparation. By integrating cloud native analytics, automated evidence capture, and real time dashboards, AWS saved approximately 3,000 hours annually on ESG compliance activities. This freed teams to focus on strategic sustainability initiatives rather than administrative reporting, while improving accuracy, audit readiness, and transparency. The shift from manual spreadsheets to connected automated ESG workflows demonstrates how digital infrastructure can turn sustainability compliance from a burden into a scalable, efficient, and insight-driven capability. Final section, let's talk money and reality. The returns from digital supply chain are large and well documented, but they're not automatic. Most tech investments underdeliver. Real returns, digital connectivity delivers measurable financial impact, higher warehouse throughput, better order accuracy, faster fulfillment, automated inventory, AI-driven procurement, and predictive demand planning. These aren't theoretical gains. They show up directly in cost, speed, service, and resilience. Now the returns, and they are substantial. The pattern is that value shows up on every axis at once: cost, speed, quality, and throughput. That's what makes the connectivity investment compound rather than trade off. The business case for digital AI-enabled supply chain is strongest where returns show directly in core operational performance. Warehouse throughput increases as automation, robotics, and AI-driven slotting reduce manual handling and accelerate movement from receiving to dispatch. With real-time visibility and digital coordination, bottlenecks disappear and facilitates process faster for more volume without expanding physical footprint. Order accuracy improves through computer vision, automated picking, digital verification, cutting rework, returns, and customer dissatisfaction. Faster order fulfillment speed flows naturally. Connected WMS, automated workflows, and predictive orchestration compress cycle time, enabling same-day and next-day delivery models without additional labor. Automated inventory reduces carrying costs and eliminates stockout by continuously reconciling physical counts with digital signals from sensors, scanners, and IoT. Together, these capabilities, they create a business case where returns are not abstract, they appear in throughput, accuracy, speed, cost reduction, and resilience. Digitalization becomes a profit engine, not just a technology upgrade. Value often stalls not because the technology is weak, because the organization isn't structurally ready to absorb it. Most digital and AI supply chain programs hit the same reality check. Fragmented data, siloed teams, legacy processes, and change fatigue slow down adoption and prevent benefits from scaling. Connectivity exposes gap. Systems that don't talk to each other, planners working in spreadsheets, suppliers operating on outdated platforms, and warehouses running manual workflows that cannot keep pace with predictive intelligence, even when pilots succeed. Value stalls during rollout because behaviors, incentives, and governance remain anchored in old ways of working. The result is a digital engine sitting on top of an analog organization. Honestly, 92% of leaders say their tech investment haven't fully delivered. Why? Not the technology, it's the fundamentals. 48% name poor data quality as the top blocker, and 52% are stuck on integration. So the playbook is discipline. Fix data governance before you chase algorithm. Start with modular, high value use cases instead of big bang program. Give it cross-functional ownership. Tie everything to measurable KPI, and design for interoperational and third-party cyber risk from day one. The winners aren't the biggest spenders, they are the most disciplined. A paced path from connected to autonomous follows a clear maturity curve. Connect, see, predict, orchestrate. In phase one, connectivity is the starting point. Systems, suppliers, warehouses, fleets, and production lines must first be digitally linked so data can flow without friction. Once connected, the organization can see, gaining real-time visibility into inventory, orders, machine health, logistics status, and supplier performance. Visibility exposes bottlenecks, reveals risk, and creates a single operational truth. Phase two, with visibility established, the supply chain can predict. AI models analyze patterns, forecast demand, anticipate delays, and detect emerging risks before they escalate. In phase three, prediction shifts the organization from reacting to disruptions to preventing them. And the final phase is orchestrate, where intelligence becomes autonomous action. AI agents coordinate procurement, logistics, production, and inventory decisions across the network. Automated workflows reroute shipment, adjust production schedules, rebalance inventory, and trigger supplier interventions without waiting for human input. Together, Connect, See, Predict, Orchestrate forms a practical, scalable path to autonomy, one that builds capability layer by layer, avoids big bang risk, and delivers resilience, speed, and precision across the entire value chain. If you remember the five things, disruption is permanent, visibility is the foundation, one backbone, two prices, ROI is real but not automatic. Go phase, follow a maturity path, connect, see, predict, orchestrate, build capability layer by layer to reach autonomous, self-optimizing operations. Let me leave you with a one-liner. Connectivity is a strategy. Build the digital backbone once and unlock resilience, sustainability, and financial returns as one integrated system. Connectivity isn't a technology choice, it's the operating model. If you build the digital backbone once, IoT to sense, AI to decide, blockchain to trust, digital twins to simulate, you don't have to choose between resilience, sustainability, and returns. You get them as one system. Thank you.